So in the last lesson, we looked at how we could use these route parameters that Express conveniently provides for us to create new lists off the bat. So we could say, for example, / I don't know, orange, and it would create a list called orange. But if we tried to add a new item in here, then it actually doesn't work. It takes us back to the default list called today and then adds our item there. That's not what we wanted. We wanted to add it to the custom list that we were in previously. But now we're somehow redirected to the root route. So what's going on here? Well, if you take a look inside your list.ejs, you can see that whenever we press the submit button, which is that plus sign, then no matter which list we're inside, we're always posting to the root route. And remember, because this is an EJS file, then it's the same template that we use for the home list, the work list, the shopping list, whatever it may be. So it's being dynamically rendered. We have to figure out how we can handle this inside that root route for the post request. At the moment, all that we do here is we create a new item, we save the item to our database, and then we redirect to the root route. And that creates the behavior that we saw just now. What we need to do instead is we need to pass over the current list that's being displayed, which we have access to, the list title variable up here, and we need to pass it back when this form gets triggered. So the perfect place to do that is, of course, inside the button, which is inside the same form. So you might already have this, but make sure we add a new value to our button. And the value is going to be created using that same EJS tag. So it's the one where we grab the value of the variable. And the variable we need is, of course, list title. So let's go ahead and add that here. Now, whenever we submit our form, we should get access to two things. One is the new item, and the second is the list. So now that means if we head back to app.js, then inside this post route, we should be able to tap into not just the item name, but also the list name. And that's going to be through request.body.list, which corresponds to the name of this button. And the value is going to be the current list that the user is trying to add an item to. So now it means that if we try to submit a new item to our today or our default list, then we need to handle it a little bit differently than if it was from the custom list. So let's write an if statement that checks for that. No matter which list the item came from, we still need to create it as a new item document. So let's go ahead and create our if statement down here, where we check to see if the list name that triggered the post request is equal to today, in which case we're probably in the default list, in which case we'll simply just save our item to our items collection, and then we'll just redirect to the root route, just as we've done previously. But if the list wasn't today, then our new item comes from a custom list. In that case, we'll need to search for that list document in our lists collection in our database, and we need to add the item and embed it into the existing array of items. So in order to do that, we're going to use find one. So we're going to say list.findOne, and we're going to pass over the condition as we're going to look for a list with the name that's equal to the list name. And then once we've found it, we can have the callback with the error and the found list. And now we can tap into this found list document and try to add our new item. So we can say found list dot items to tap into the embedded array of items. And then we're going to call the JavaScript push function to push a new item into the array of items. So the item that we want to push is, of course, this one that we've just created based off what the user typed. So we'll push item. And now we're going to save our found list so that we update it with the new data. And finally, we have to res.redirect, but instead of redirecting to the root route, in this case, we have to redirect to the route where the user came from, which is going to be /list name. Now, what should happen is that no matter which list we're in, when a user tries to add an input into the text field and then press the submit button, the form will make a post request that's handled through the root route right here. And our server will catch it right here. And then we will check to see if the list that the user tried to add the item into was from the default list, where the list name is equal to today, in which case we're just going to do a simple save item, redirect back to the root route. But otherwise, namely if the user came from a custom list, then we're going to find that custom list, and then we're going to add this new item to the items in that list. And finally, we're going to redirect back to the /list name, which should take us into this part. And then we can render all of the items that belong in that list. So let's hit save and let's refresh our web page. So let's say that I go over to my home list and I decide to add a new item. Let's say, I don't know, clean kitchen, right? And let's go ahead and press add, and now it gets added to my list. And I can do the same with, say, for example, my work list. Let's say, I don't know, read emails, and press plus, and it gets added to my work list. But now, the beauty is if I head back to my home list, it's all still saved under my home list. And all of our items are now categorized based off the list where they were added to.